What was there a catalyst for you that led you on this journey of, low carb keto?
Well, there was always a desire on my part to not want to be the way I was. So I was open to trying anything and everything that people would suggest. But time and again, it was just the same old, right? Calorie balance, energy balance, eat less, move more, etc. The first time I heard of low carb was probably about the early 2000s. That was doing the rounds in the news at that point. I think Dr. Atkins had just updated his book or something at that time. So it was doing the rounds in the media, as it sort of tends to do every now and then. And that was the first time I caught wind of the whole concept. But at the same time, it was immediately countered by just this gaggle of experts saying, no, that low carb is crazy talk. Don't you know all that saturated fat will clog your arteries and you'll be dead of a heart attack before you know it. Whatever you do to lose weight, do not do low carb. And so, what's a young, responsible-ish person to do when he hears all of these people saying, do not do that thing? Well, I'm not going to do that thing. And that decision, in effect, cost me about 15 or so years of quality of life before circumstances finally reached a point where I realized, the status quo is not working.
Yeah.
What's it saying about the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results?
Yeah.
And after a sufficient period of time, my health had declined to a point where, everybody reaches this sort of rock bottom. It's now or never. It's do or die, literally. And it was at that point that I chose to do.
And how did you find the do? Like, what did you actually, where did you find that?
So it was entirely by accident, in fact, and it was not a story that I shared very widely until well after it had happened. But it was in 2015. I was at my heaviest at that time, about 137 kgs. That's just over 300 pounds. And I'm about 5'9", 175 centimeters. So my BMI is like mid 40s. It's off all the charts, right? I'm in real trouble, health wise. In desperation at this time, I decided I would try starting to walk to work. And I did this for a period of about 6 months during the New Zealand winter of that year, so the middle months of that year. And I deliberately did it at that time of the year when the days were shortest and the nights were longest, so I wouldn't necessarily be seen by so many people. When you're of that size, you're just ultra self-conscious. You don't want to be outside. You don't want to be seen to doing anything. So I walked to work and back every day I could when the weather wasn't too horrible, for about 6 months of 2015. And over that period, I lost all of about 5 kilograms, which was not nothing, but for someone at my size, and walking sounds like it's not that big a deal, right? Why don't fat people exercise? I can tell you, it's too hard.
Yeah.
It is so hard that even something that sounds as simple as walking sounds was really, really hard yakka for someone in my position. It was just exhausting. It was about 45 minutes in each direction. So about an hour and a half, per day at that time. And it was just such a struggle. And all that effort, 6 months for all of 5 kgs, well, it's better than nothing. And so at this point, maybe I need to get some professional help on the exercise front. Maybe what I need to do is go to a gym. And this was something that I swore up and down, black and blue, for so long beforehand that I would never do. So this was my big secret, right? Nobody needs to know this. I'm just so shameful of myself and so ashamed in every level. But I make this secret appointment. I take some time off work. I didn't tell anybody what I was doing. I just had an appointment in town. That's all that I told them. And I rock on up to the gym, and it just feels like I'm walking into the lion's den, right? There's all sorts of people of various shapes and sizes all sweating their faces off. They're all smaller than me, of course. And I'm just feeling like a total fish out of water. And the guy takes me in and I sort of explain my story. And his answer was the last thing I expected. He's like, yeah, there's not much I can do for you here. I think before we look at an exercise plan, we need to sort your diet out. And I thought, oh, here we go, more of the same. But he was the one who suggested I look up this website that was promoting a low-carb diet. And so I'm getting these flashbacks all of a sudden from about 15 years ago, thinking, okay, well, this is not the first time I've heard of this. But this is the first time that somebody has actually sold this idea to me in person, face to face, and I'm not surrounded by other voices saying, no, do not do this thing. But I still had them ringing in my mind, in the back of my mind. And I was thinking, surely if low carb is the answer to my problem, then there'd be no controversy about it, right? It would be part of our guidelines already. We'd all be doing it and there'd be no problem. But this is clearly not the case, at least as of 2015 at the time. And so I couldn't help but be incredibly skeptical. And eventually what drove me to try it was not because I believed that it would work, but in fact the opposite. I believed that it wouldn't work, that if anything, it would be the end of me. But I thought, you know what? If I'm going down, I'm going to take this guy with me. I'm going to expose this diet for the fraud that it is. And, you know, my life will mean something, that at least the world is going to learn that low carb, meant the end of this fat guy. And it's, this is going to confirm it. This is going to be the nail in the coffin of low carb. So I actually set out, with the intent of disproving the diet, because what's the other possibility, right? If the diet is correct, then that means a lifetime's worth of experts are wrong. And in my mind, that's just impossible. So it was a really twisted sort of sense of logic I had going on in my head. It was not a healthy mindset at all. I went into it not at all expecting it to work. I was expecting, this guy at the gym to be wrong. And it turned out, what a surprise, right? Turns out I was the one that was wrong all along. We were all wrong. Everybody who had been, telling me what to do about how to lose weight, well, they said not to do this one thing that has ultimately just completely transformed my life by every measure that's important. And that is such a profound change that, I can sit and think about it and just ruminate on it now, even a few years later, and it still takes a bit of just sort of wrapping your brain around the extent of the change and what it took to get from there to here.